Let's talk about the next 5 years.
Welcome back to The Next 5 Years, the podcast where we cut through the AI noise and look at what's actually moving the needle for business leaders right now. Lately, the big promise of AI has been total automation. The idea that you can replace human touchpoints with chatbots, automated emails, and algorithms, saving you time and money. But there is a massive trap hiding in that promise, especially if you're an agency or a high-ticket solutions provider. If you are automating everything, that can quickly turn a premium client experience into something cold, robotic, and frustrating. In a world where anyone can use AI to generate all kinds of deliverables like videos and audios, and they can save potentially on the costs, then how do you create a real competitive advantage? For premium clients, it's increasingly going to be how you manage their expectations and experiences, but without losing the human touch, because that's what keeps clients coming back. Today, we have Sam Chlebowski, co-founder of LaunchBay, which is a fast-growing platform helping agencies and B2B tech companies automate client onboarding and deliver a better customer experience. Before co-founding LaunchBay, Sam helped build and scale Brighter Vision, playing a key role as the company grew from startup to a successful acquisition. In this conversation today, we are going to cut through the AI hype and explore what's actually working in the real world. We will discuss where AI is delivering, where businesses are still struggling, and what leaders need to do over the next 5 years to stay competitive in an increasingly automated world. Sam, welcome to the show.
Amazing to be here. Thanks for having me. And thanks so much for that intro. You nailed my background. I've been asked on multiple different podcasts to say my background, and I don't think I've ever wrapped it up so tightly and put a bow on it the way that you did. So thank you. And thanks for having me. Excited to chat here today.
Thank you, Sam. We are excited to have you here as well today. To kick things off, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself? I have tried to say what I could, but then you know more about yourself, about your company and what it does and your role in the business from a high level, if you can, please.
Absolutely. So I think that in some ways I was almost destined to go down entrepreneurial sort of startup path. Growing up as a kid in central Pennsylvania, I was really into skateboarding, really into punk rock, still am. Skateboarding, not so much, but I am teaching my 3.5-year-old how to skateboard now, which is fun. But that sense of the DIY mentality is something that is always stuck with me. And as I was graduating college, I was looking for opportunities. I had a little sort of freelance business building websites in college. And after that, I was looking for ways to use that skill set. I'd originally a lawyer, so I ended up double majoring in political science, but then tacked on advertising at the end because I found that I was really interested in not only design, where I was just doing these projects on my own in my free time for extra money during school, but also the marketing side of things. Went to work at a little shop called Brighter Vision. At the time, it was just 2 other people. It was my now co-founder and one other employee building websites in this tiny little office, basically the size of a closet, more or less. What started there, just building websites for basically anyone who would take them on a subscription model, which is something that's pretty widespread and it's been very adopted, that sort of productized service model. While it's really taken hold where we are today, it was really novel. It was a really new idea at the time. So we had started offering this kind of to anybody, eventually would niche down, go into the mental and behavioral health fields. So therapists, psychiatrists, marriage and family counselors. We ended up growing to become the largest website provider in the space. Had about 5,000 clients at the time. We were acquired, 35 maybe, and exited that business to a private equity firm downtown here in Denver. So really exciting stuff. And it was a really fun opportunity for me because along that journey, I had so many different roles. I'd started building the websites, what I was doing later in my college career, moved into a sales role, actually, where I learned the ins and outs of selling and closing and also managing a sales team. And then eventually made it full circle all the way back around to marketing, which is really what I do now at LaunchBay. So LaunchBay was really born out of our struggles within that prior business that seemed to pop up at every different stage of growth. So at past $1 million in annual revenue, at 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, and so on, we would always encounter this roadblock where there would be this point, and it's a good problem to have. We were selling more clients than we could physically keep up with. And we didn't have hiring the staff to be able to service these people was not a quick and easy thing to do. So we'd look for systems and ways to automate it. The problem was there were no really good tools at the time to do that. We knew that there were a couple of key pieces. One, we needed to get the information that we needed from clients to deliver them the work that they were paying us for on a predictable, repeatable timeline. Number two, we knew that it was really important for clients to have a good experience, and that has a couple of pieces within it. One, knowing who they're working with and how to get in touch. Two, getting updated about the various progress that we're making along the way, so they're not scratching their head and saying, oh, what am I even paying for here? And then number three, making it really easy for them if things come up and there are new things for them to do after onboarding when we move into delivery, that they can provide those things, know that they're a blocker. So we built LaunchBay out of these struggles, a way to consolidate multiple tools to do this job in that prior business. And actually, before starting LaunchBay, we wanted to make sure that this wasn't just us who had this problem. So we did go out and speak with over 150 other agencies, consultants, software teams to validate the problem. We found out that yes, people did in fact have this problem. And so what we've settled on today, and really the final version of LaunchBay, is a client onboarding automation platform where on the front end, your clients get a branded portal to submit the things they need, communicate with your team, check the updates that are happening within work. And then on the back end, your team gets a really seamless, centralized way to manage your projects, to set up these automated workflows, but also at the end of the day, ultimately free up time and eliminate some of those tedious tasks that keep them from delivering the things that are really valuable to clients. Spending time on the phone with them, getting to learn and know about your customers, taking these sort of manual project management tasks, whether it's updating statuses or sending follow-up emails, just taking those things away. They're automated, they're repeatable, but then you can really still deliver, and it frees you up time to deliver this really personalized, professionalized experience.
This is the problem you just explained. Sound like such an obvious problem, but you don't see many solutions out there that are dedicatedly solving this problem. So would that be right? Or are you?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think that, so when we started this business back in, it would have been 2022, there really weren't any competitors that we were aware of who were focusing really on this specific problem. The problem historically has been there's kind of two sides of the coin, right? There is your CRM/marketing automation software, which is really sales focused. It's sales, it's marketing focused. Then on the other side, there is project management software. So things like Trello, ClickUp, Monday.com. The problem with those is they're really internal team focused. While they've introduced functionality since this time that allows you to invite clients into it, it still doesn't really work that great because those platforms were all built for internal team collaboration. It was never built with the idea that this client-facing layer is a key piece of the overall experience and the overall tool set that agencies need. Long story, there's been a couple of competitors that we have that have propped up since then. There is Assembly, who used to be known as Copilot, that plays in a similar space as us. There is an adjacent area, companies like Guide CX and OnRamp that are really focused on software onboarding. Where we sit is we work with high volume, and we work best with high volume agencies, consultants, and then growing software companies. So people that aren't ready for a full enterprise solution yet, but they're growing, they're scaling rapidly. And we want to provide them a way where we can get them set up and we can build them systems that are going to propel them to that next level of enterprise growth without all of the complex setup and the immense cost that comes with doing something like a custom Salesforce implementation or something like that for them. LaunchBay, the great thing about it is it works right out of the box. We say that you can learn the platform in under an hour and go live with your first client in as little as a day.
Well, that's incredible. Now, create some clarity here. Why is client onboarding so important for high ticket businesses in the first place? What's wrong with sending emails and different types of tools people have been using so far?
Yeah, nothing wrong with that, right? Those systems, they work great. Maybe as you start to scale, if you're doing higher volumes, maybe they start to break at some point 10 years ago. But let's go ahead and flash forward to today. So within the period of COVID, I know it sounds like all of these changes occurred within COVID, but they really did, especially the way that customers interact with software. Because in that time, everything shifted to virtual environments. And that meant that there were a lot of companies who were deploying new ways of interacting with their clients, where you were meeting with your doctor on a Zoom call, maybe for the first time. You were submitting information in a portal at your doctor's office instead of filling out a form in person for the first time. And it's those types of experiences that steep their way into all aspects of life. And I think that where we've landed in 2026, ultimately, if you are working remotely with clients, they they not only would like it, but they expect you to have some kind of interface where they can check updates, they can submit the things they need, they can do it online. We'll still be able to, of course, meet with you in real time and things like that. But I think it's become a basic expectation of customers as opposed to a nice little bonus that you have this client interface for them. Because when you don't, and we have seen the flip side, these are the types of business I talk to all day who have this problem where they're still using their form from 10 years ago, their email templates that are just saved in their Gmail inbox. They're still using these things, and clients are just missing them because people's inboxes are so inundated these days with the things that they need to do. They need centralized place to be able to see updates, to be able to complete the things that you need. Because if they can't, ultimately, progress is going to stall. And one of the things that we really say of, hey, why you should care about onboarding, if there's anything that I would say that is like my takeaway, the reason to care about onboarding is because if you can't onboard clients in a predictable, repeatable, structured way, it's going to increase the risk that they churn because they're never going to get to see value in the product or service you provide. Because if you can't onboard, you can't deliver.
Yeah, that makes actually perfect sense. You're creating an experience, you're creating value through experience by creating an onboarding. Everything is at the same place. So they're tracking all the progress. And if they need to ask anything, if they need to have any queries, then they need to go to just one platform at one time and they can see everything, all the progress going on so far. So to me, that's an experience. And that creates competitive advantage as well for your clients when they're onboarding high ticket clients of their own. So would that be correct to say?
It's 100% accurate. And what you've said is actually like almost verbatim. So I recently did this customer case study with a customer of ours by the name of this up on our website if you want to go look at it at launchbay.com. The company's called Accelerated Automation, and they do a CRM implementation. It's a specific CRM. I'm having trouble remembering the name, but it's for real estate agents that the CRM is for. And they have said that in the past year of using our software, their biggest clients have started referring even bigger clients because of the client experience, because of how predictable things are. Because as opposed to it taking a couple of weeks to get this CRM implemented for their real estate clients, they've shortened that to less than a week. And those customers are seeing value right away. So it's, of course, they're going to refer people. If that's the industry norm is a couple of weeks to deliver, and then you are a business and you're effectively cutting that down to a week, there's an immense amount of value there and value that people will talk about it. So it's good for your customers. But at the end of the day, I think that the better you do by your customers, the better you're able to deliver, the better it's going to be for you. People are going to talk about you. People are going to refer to you, especially if you're in more niche industry where real estate or like accounting or a specific field of consulting, people talk to each other. They listen to their recommendations from their friends and colleagues, and it can really make a dramatic and a very real and quantifiable business impact.
Yeah, Sam, AI is everywhere at the moment. And in fact, actually, your company was born in 2022. That's right at the time we started seeing AI getting into the mainstream. People like Bill Gates, they are saying that AI is probably the biggest thing in tech they have seen in their lifetime. So, first of all, are you using AI in your product? And secondly, what kind of trends are you seeing in your industry to do with AI at the moment?
Yeah. So I think take a step back and I'll tell you about trends I'm seeing, how I'm using AI like personally for my day-to-day work, and then I'll talk about how we're implementing AI into the product itself. I AI is can be a tough one for me at times. I love new technology. I remember vividly when the iPhone was released. I remember seeing that ad. I remember going to a friend's house and his dad had one of the first iPhones. He had lined up, he had done the whole pre-order, and I saw him watching a YouTube video on this phone. I'm like, oh my God. I didn't know that you could even get one of these right now. And I saw that for the first time and I saved the entire year or about a year and a half until the iPhone 2 came out. And in high school, as a high school sophomore, I was one of the first people I knew who had an iPhone just because I wanted it so bad. So I'm obsessed with new technology and I love AI. That said, I am a very early adopter with things, but AI has been frustrating for me in ways that I wouldn't expect because there's ways that, unlike the iPhone that I got and immediately loved and saw all of these cool things it could do, AI has equal parts impressed and frustrated me. And I think one of the parts for that is just all of the hype around it. People saying that they've replaced their VP of marketing with a full-time AI VP. I'm just like, I have so much trouble believing it because I've used AI every day and I haven't seen those capabilities yet. And I've tried to push things to the limit. On the other hand, about 6 months ago, I did have my first sort of magic moment with AI, which was using Claude Code actually. So I, for a long time, we hired an outsourced team to do work on our website. It's on Webflow. Eventually, like the website was in a good spot. We parted ways with them and just didn't need them anymore. Was no complaints or anything. But then we wanted to do a new round of sort of landing pages on our website. I lead all of our major marketing initiatives and I'm like, okay, I don't really want to go through the process of looking for an outsourcer. Let me try and see if I can use AI for this. So I recently switched from ChatGPT to Claude and hooked Claude directly into our Webflow site via the MCP connector. That was like a magic moment for me. That was like, oh my gosh, I am not a front end developer. I know enough HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or whatever to get by, but I was designing pages in an hour or two, and it was on brand. It had the elements I wanted. It was mobile responsive. These things that I would have to wait a week or two for another team to build us, I was doing in a couple of hours. And that was a real magic moment for me. Also, in terms of like how I'm using AI in my day to day, I think it's really important, especially for content. So blogs, video, things like that. I think it's really important to keep that human perspective and that unique perspective that you have. And if you're not careful, AI can lose that. So what I do is in Claude, I've set up all of these projects that are trained on best examples of content we've created, trained on my voice. And then also, where appropriate, I will pull in keyword research. I use Ahrefs for this, but there's all sorts of tools you can use to help if I'm working on some website content or pages that's designed for search traffic that it'll optimize for that. So I use that and it gets 70 to 80% of the way, but it doesn't run it for me. I still have to edit. I still have to add my unique perspective a lot of times, but it does help me get closer faster. That covers the first part, the how I'm using it and then trends.
But in your product, in the LaunchBay, the product, are you using AI inside your product as well?
Yes. Yeah. So we are, and we're actually moving pretty quickly on this. but we've really tried to take an intentional approach. So what I just talked about was like my internal stuff. For me, Sam, at LaunchBay, like the things that I'm working on, that's how I use in our product itself, which our team does use to even onboard our own customers. We have over the past year really been trying to push on a bunch of different ways. One of the things that I've noticed is there were a couple of features that we shipped that either we ended up pulling back a little bit from or they just didn't get used. Most recently, there's been a couple of big things that we've done that have really moved the needle for us. So first is our AI form builder, which is really great. If you are migrating things like customer onboarding and intake forms from another tool into LaunchBay, you can describe that form. You can take a screenshot of it, even plop it into LaunchBay. It'll take care of that migration for you. The other thing is our AI workflow builder, where you can just take a CSV file or a PDF or any type of doc that explains your process, plop it into LaunchBay. We'll build out your project in a way that's structured, repeatable, set up in the sort of LaunchBay format with tasks for both clients and team members to complete that'll go into the portal for customers. It'll also build out the project progress tracker for you. It'll take care of all of that automatically for you. The biggest thing that we've done, and this shipped just in the past 2 weeks, is now we have, so those first two features I described are native features that we've built using AI. So we just use an API to call to OpenAI and Anthropic to leverage their LLMs. But what we shipped this last week is an MCP connector, which MCP connector, if you're not familiar with it, is basically the standard language for if you have an MCP connector, it'll allow you to translate the various functions and skills that your application can do to a chat-based LLM. It allows you to connect Claude, ChatGPT, Perplexity, really any LLM that allows for this. That feature has been really interesting to see because it has had easily 10 times the adoption that any of our native AI features have. And I think that there's a couple of reasons for that. One, we've already built in a lot of the functionalities into the native parts. So when we added the MCP connector, now you can just do those things that you would have had to go in and do with LaunchBay's AI. You can do it directly in your favorite chat. So that's been a really cool thing for us. People are using it in all types of ways. They're using it to review their messages and then have their AI assistant draft replies that they can send in bulk in a single click. They're using it to pool reporting data. For example, hey, I have this one workflow I'm using. Where are the common roadblockers, Claude or ChatGPT? How can I resolve those through LaunchBay? They're also using it for things like check-ins and tasks of, hey, send me any projects that are at risk, and then suggest a course of action, create those things in LaunchBay. So to answer your question, yeah, that is the big core pieces that we're doing right now that exist in the platform today. It's really where we've gotten to is an AI project manager, especially if you've synced up Claude, ChatGPT, et cetera. One of the really exciting things that we're about to ship that I actually just got a demo of yesterday from our CTO is an AI chief of staff. And this is a direction that we're really excited about this. So we don't want to be the people that are going to say, hey, we're going to replace your COO or we don't want to do that. What we do want to do is make it, especially with moving into the future of agentic AI, of we can have AI agents with very specific jobs. So our idea where we're coming from here is we have an AI project manager right now, right? We're going to break that out into more even specific jobs of you have an agent that reviews your forms. It's your forms agent. You have an agent that reviews your contracts, your payments. And all of these agents with these very refined jobs and responsibilities report up to your AI chief of staff. That AI chief of staff is ultimately going to become your reporting hub in LaunchBay, where you can ask it any questions. You can have it send your job-specific agents off and do other jobs. But why we're so excited about this is we think it's really a pretty new approach to AI. For so long, it's just been like, hey, we have AI. You can do everything with it. What we've found is people, number one, don't really trust that. And number two, even if they're willing to trust it, it's a little bit harder for them to use if the job isn't specific. And what we saw is, so we have a chatbot that handles some of our support requests. Of course, at LaunchBay, if you want to speak with a human, you can always speak with a human. We just have it to filter out requests and be able to handle some of the higher level stuff for us. But what we came to the realization of is, I think the reason why a lot of people use support bots in AI, but they don't use it for they don't use agents for anything else, is because with a support bot, the job is so well defined. And we want to bring that methodology to larger parts of the business workflow for agencies and consultants. Long-winded answer, I know, but that's what we have now in the platform and the direction that we're headed.
Everywhere you look, companies are claiming to be AI powered. What do you think business leaders are actually getting wrong about the AI right now?
I think they are significantly overselling the things that it can do. And I think that if you look at Salesforce, right? Salesforce this time last year was selling the most of the business world on this vast, expansive promise of AI. And they're like, look, we're going to lay off 10,000 employees because AI is doing so much work for us already right now. Then we flash forward a couple months, Salesforce is hiring some people back. They're dialing back the promises a little bit. I think that it is a mistake to, number one, buy into some of the hype without questioning it. I think it is a big mistake that many business leaders make. And then number two, I think that if you are a business that offers AI, don't sell on the promise of AI alone. I am fully convinced that software is not going anywhere, because I think it is going to be 10 plus years before you can have AI that builds full end-to-end software that's reliable, that is scalable. I think we're a long ways away from that. So I think that, one, don't believe the hype. Two, if you have AI in your product, you should be able to sell your same product without it. AI, I think, should be a bonus, a layer on top of it that helps people avoid manual, repetitive work. But I would caution against selling on the idea of you will be able to fire your team of 10 to 20 people and do everything yourself. That's not happening. And then number three, I think that if you are going to implement AI, look for ways to use it in a job defined way, a specific job it can do for you that's going to make an impact.
So you're saying that, you hear many companies now, mainstream companies actually getting into this bandwagon as well of getting rid of people. Even you're hearing Wall Street banks are getting rid of tens of thousands of people around the world. And they're saying the only reason is AI. Many years ago, they would have said something different. The reason is they're streamlining processes, etc. But now they're blaming AI. So you're saying that claim that AI can replace people is a bit overhyped right now.
Yeah, I think that there are job functions right now that AI can indeed replace. But I also think it's important to keep in mind, what is your business, right? If we're talking about a company like JP Morgan, we're talking about Deloitte, we're talking about Accenture, right? They've added a lot of employees. They hired during the zero interest years. And I think you need to understand that if you are a business leader, the size of your company really dictates who you can replace. I think that there is so much immense value, especially for businesses in that, let's call it 10 to 100 company size. Your people who have been with you for years are going to be the best people at using AI. Why would you get rid of them? They are probably going to drive adoption. What we say a lot of times at LaunchBay is, we don't say that we're going to replace your team. We say that you are able to do more with your existing team. So you can get to that next level of growth with the same team that you have right now. You don't have to get rid of them. Don't do that. You probably have a lot of people with really great institutional knowledge who care deeply about your customers and about the business. Those people are invaluable. What you are able to do is maybe you can scale up from serving 100 clients to 150 a month. 150 to 200 without having to be on that constant flywheel of hiring that you've had to historically do, because that's what we had to do at Brighter Vision. It was like, we knew that for every new 50 customers we sold in a given month, we would need an extra person. So we built LaunchBay for ourselves in that way, where we knew that if we had this tool, we could have stopped hiring at our 20th employee or so and have just done more with them and kept those people around, great relationships with them, with their customers, but didn't have to be on this exhausting flywheel of always looking for people, some of which are just not going to work out. It's a numbers game. So, shtick.
Yeah, that's so I totally agree with that. If you're starting a business today, Sam, let's say today, then how would you build it differently because of AI?
Yeah. So I think from day one, I would be working on creating, I would want to find our first couple of customers. But then at the time, I think when we were ready to start hiring our first employee, or maybe we'd even sold a couple of customers, we have an idea of what the product is, what the service is. I think one of the big things that I would do is really focus on creating documentation, even if it's just an early idea about what we are, about what the brand voice is, about who our ideal customers are. And I would have that very much earlier on than I think we've historically done in the past. Maybe we take a year to figure it out. I would have that early on because it would become the foundation of AI agents or AI projects, whatever they are, to help us create things faster and create a flywheel of content faster. Because that's going to inform helping us to create content for our website. That's going to help us inform potentially a short form video strategy. I do think with that is I would also really make sure that we were able to leverage it as quickly as possible by setting up these systems ahead of time, especially when it comes to marketing growth side of things that are going to make the production of marketing initiatives way faster. And then as far as the team side goes and how we would be using it, that is, I would immediately be setting up things like an AI support bot to start fielding some of our requests. Because I think what you would see with a new company is actually your existing team, and maybe it's just you and a co-founder. I think that you could go a lot further right now, especially if you're just starting, kind of just starting to pick up clients. I think you can go way further and way longer than you would have been able to historically with just a founding team or just a co-founder, an employee or two. And I think that's ultimately what would be the major difference, is that you can run a way leaner ship. And even if you're in software, a industry which has typically required funding or a very savvy bootstrap founder to get a product launched, now you can test, you can validate before you really have to spend any type of serious money. I could get a Claude or a ChatGPT account or a Codex account, spin up a prototype, spin up a couple landing pages, run some Google ads, some Facebook ads to it, see if there's interest, and pivot and iterate much more quickly. And then when we did settle on something, go a lot further with our one or two or three person team.
Yeah, I was coming to that question, but thanks for covering some of my question, which I haven't asked yet. The question actually I was going to coming to was, you are hearing some people talking about there could be billion-dollar companies run entirely or mostly by AI. You mentioned earlier that as you grow, as you scale, as you guys are, then you need to acquire at least one customer service person in your company for every 50 new clients you bring in. So basically, scaling also needs new people coming in inside your company. But then, would you say that it's also possible for people who are going entirely with the AI model to create maybe $10 million, maybe $50 million business entirely run by the AI, agentic AI, basically the agents, or mostly by that?
So I will say, I don't know. I'll say I don't know, but one thing that I would do, why I would hesitate to say yes, is yes, that is possible, is I think that the person who is running a business that is doing 10, 20, $30 million with AI agents, I think that is a person who is creating the technology versus who is providing a service or a non AI type of product. And I think that a great example of this and like where my head immediately goes is if you look at OpenClaw, right? When everybody's buying the Mac minis, setting up the open source AI agents is a type of business that, yes, that will continue to exist. But he, the founder of that company, he created the technology. He wasn't selling a service. He wasn't developing, it was a product, but it was an AI product. And yes, he was doing a lot of the development of that with agents. But I think that for everybody else, because we're always going to need services, we're always going to need people to do things for us. I think that there is a human layer that if you don't have that, people aren't going to trust you and it's going to hold you back from that growth to 10 to 20 to $30 million. You need salespeople, you need customer support people. If in the age of AI, I actually think that the human face-to-face interactions, whether it's in person or over video, those type of back interactions are actually one of the most valuable pieces of your business because AI levels the playing field, right? AI levels the playing field in so many areas from marketing to development. But what it can't do, what it can't replicate is people who are good at talking to other people. And if you have a team that you build around a culture of accountability to your customers and being friendly and listening, that is going to really what I think sets apart the next generation of businesses, especially in the professional services area.
Yeah, I think I totally agree, actually, that right now in certain sectors, the AI is being oversold. So people need to take those claims with a pinch of salt that AI isn't going to be able to do it all right now anyway. Maybe 10 years down the line, who knows? But right now, there's still AI can assist them to streamline things, to make things slightly faster, easier, quicker, a little cost efficient, better, but they are not going to replace people because people still need to talk to other people. So they still need the human touch point. So I totally agree with you.
Yep.
Now, if a small business owner, someone who operates a small business, they have done absolutely nothing with AI in their business, then where should they start?
So that's an awesome question. I think where I would start is, and I think this will help you learn the most. I would think of one thing that you really wanted to do. So is it you want to get more inbound leads, more inbound client inquiries? Is it you want to develop a new process for your team? Think about some big initiative that you want to implement and go ahead and toss your ideas into an AI chat and say, hey, I want to do this thing. What is your suggested approach? And then see what it says. And I think when you do this, you're going to learn a lot about the way that AI works. And you're also going to see the limitations of it because the first thing it spits out is probably not going to be good. And go into that with the assumption that the first strategy it recommends, the first time you're using AI, is not going to be good. From there, you'll learn how to query and how to poke and prod at the AI. And most importantly, how to provide it the additional context that is needed to get to that end result that you will be happy with. So I think that would be like my number one suggestion. And I think that's where you can learn the most about just the way that AI works. And it'll give you a healthy level of skepticism for the next thing you want to do with it.
So that's great, actually, Sam. And now you've been, as you said, you've been at the forefront of the new technological waves from the beginning, the iPhone, et cetera, and now you're right knee deep into AI. So you probably have your views, your beliefs about AI. Now, the question really I'm trying to ask is, what beliefs about AI do you hold that many people will disagree with?
Yeah, I think that, and that's a really cool question. I think that some of these things I've talked about already, but it's one of the biggest ones is that AI might change the way people work, but it's ultimately never going to replace humans. Humans are going to be desirable. And I think along with that, and something I didn't talk about was actually how much more desirable I think work we do with our hands is going to become valued as a society. Products that are made that people are selling on things like Etsy. There's a guy in Maine that I follow on the internet that sells these handcrafted wooden kitchen spoons, right? And he's crushing it right now because everybody wants to support him. They know his story. There's a real face behind this brand that he has created. Yeah, the wooden spoon is a little bit more expensive, but it's something you'll have for years and years. And it's like, there is an AI that can do that job, right? He could, yes, of course, have a robot make the spoons, but that's part of the charm. It's his face on the brand, him as a person. It's not an AI video model. It's really him talking and it's him doing the work. And people like that. People will continue to gravitate towards that. But I think it's my biggest take on AI that people might agree with is that stuff actually becomes more valuable, believe it or not. Would be, yeah, potentially the one that I think that most people might disagree with.
No, that's fine. Absolutely, Sam. It's absolutely fine. Now, you are a co-founder of this company. So are there any things which are keeping you awake at night in terms of, I don't know, competition, growth, economy, something else, weather, maybe? So in terms of running the company or where you see the company going in future, where do you see are many things keeping you awake at night?
So I think that the biggest one for me is growth. I think that there's a lot of questions that I have of because we've heard it and we've seen it a couple of times of people saying, "Hey, why do I need this software? I'm just going to try and build it myself." And that's something that really does worry me because I think that so many people try that and then it doesn't work out. Either they are using an exorbitant amount of tokens, their Anthropic bill is $150,000 a month because they tried to replace this tool that used to cost them a couple $100 a month. But there is this belief right now that people don't need software. And I think that scares me a little bit. I think in the end, we're going to be okay. But it has been a concern as of late, especially when I've heard customers say, "Hey, I'm going to try and build this on my own. Love your product, love your service, but we just want to try this and see if we can do it." And that's definitely something that makes me a little nervous, but I wouldn't say it keeps me up every night. I'll say it keeps me up for prevents me from falling asleep for maybe 30 minutes or so.
That's fine. Sam, I need to be respectful of your time. You've been very generous today to speak to us today. Find listeners who want to learn more about your company or just want to say hi to you. So what's the best way of doing that?
Yeah, so I offer this up on every podcast I go to. If you want to chat with me, connect, feel free to send me an email directly. It is sam@launchbay.com. Sometimes it takes me a day or so to respond to emails, but I do respond to every one. As well, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm sure we can just add a note to that. And then our company is just launchbay.com. If you want to try us out, we offer a 14-day free trial, no credit card, no shenanigans. Sign up, try us out. If it works, great. We'd love to have you.
Fantastic, Sam. You've been a wonderful guest. I really appreciate that and wish you and your company best of luck. And it's great. So thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks so much. Great talking to you.
Let's talk about the next